Whatever you did, we are eternally grateful because you spoke your truth and you spoke it into the world. Friends, one of the saddest things that I think is happening right now for us in our community is that we are a community in division. We are a community who are looking to point the finger. We're a community that is looking to blame someone, something, or some institution. We are a people who are so divided. And it is time for us at this moment to use that anger to confront our own heterophobia and our own homophobia, and to once again rise up out of the ashes and to come back together as the people of God. There must be no room for division amongst us at this moment in our history. Because you know, sisters and brothers, if we allow that division to exist amongst us, they didn't just win Proposition 8. They will win the downfall of the LGBTQI community as we know it today. And I will not allow that to happen in this country, in this people, at this moment. Sacred conversation is about acknowledging some of our own fears and some of our own dreams and some of our own hurts, and allowing them to be present in the room without pointing a finger at one another. Sacred conversation is about dealing with some of the facts that exist in our world and dealing with them in such a way that we become healthier adults because of it. Sacred conversation is about acknowledging some of the mistruths that go on in our world and allowing each of us to find our place at the table. Sacred conversation is about echoing those words to the church at Galatia that says there is neither Jew nor free, Jew nor Greek, slave nor free, black nor white, male nor female. And I truly believe that if Jesus was with us today, he would add the words gay, straight, bisexual, lesbian, transgendered, queer, intersex, or any of the other labels that we place upon ourselves, for we are all one in Christ Jesus. Yes. There is pain for us. Many of us are in pain. This week I've shared with so many of you a hug or a phone call, feeling of anger, desperation. Some of us even talking about going back into the closet and trying to hide because we're fearful for our own lives. Many of us who are wondering what is the next step, whether there really is a place for us. Are we really second-class citizens now? And the truth of the matter is yes. I was astonished to know that chickens have more rights. Chickens can now spread their wings. I know Skip read my mind right at that moment. Friends, I believe that our internal homophobia and our internalized heterophobia will be a division for us unless we begin to heal it right now in this place. And we need to heal it to acknowledge that we truly are one people. It has been absolutely wonderful over the last 3 days to be present on the marches and to be present with people of all ethnicities, of all backgrounds, of all gender identities, and of all sexual orientations, coming together to stand up right now and say that Proposition 8 should be overturned and that all people should find full equality under the law. And yet in our own community, we have tried to blame the black folks for the downfall of this election. We need to speak it out loud, and we need to speak it in truth. We need to speak it out loud, and we need to speak it in truth. Many of us have said to me, it seems ironic that we should go to the polls, white and black together, and put into power a new African-American president, while at the same time those same folks turned round and voted against another minority in this country. They've said it to me. And not just African Americans. More than 50% of the Latino vote. And I know Reverend Alex and Reverend Barbara, I know that you represent those communities. And it's hard for some of us to accept that and to understand it. I need to tell us something about oppression sickness this morning. And something about oppression sickness which I believe will help us to understand this is that when any group find themselves with respectability, find ourselves out of slavery, find ourselves with rights, our natural instinct is to buy into dominant culture and to turn around in that same sickness and oppress another group. That's exactly what oppression sickness does, and that's exactly what we are tempted to do in our own community this morning. To exhibit our own oppression sickness and look for another group to oppress at this moment. Now we don't have clean hands in this, sisters and brothers. We're really good at oppressing another group. Even in our own community, we are really good at oppressing another group. We're really good at oppressing bisexuals in our congregation and in our community. And we're really good at oppressing transgendered folk in our community. We call ourselves the LGBT, but often we really are the G. And we might allow the L and the B and the Q and the I to exist. Am I telling the truth? So we don't have clean hands. If anyone, we should understand oppression sickness. And we should understand what has happened in the African American community and in the Latino community around that oppression sickness, buying into dominant culture, buying into white male culture in order to oppress another, in order for respectability. The Mormon Church has worked for respectability for years in this country. And I truly believe that they saw this as their attempt to be recognized as a mainstream Christian church in the world today. What an unholy alliance between the Roman Catholic, the Evangelical, and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. What an unholy alliance. They hate each other.
Yes, they do. All right, they do. All right. Tell it. Come on.
They hated each other before.
Yep.
And they'll hate each other afterwards.
They will.
But in order to oppress another group, they were willing to come together in this unholy alliance. Why do I know? I grew up in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Or as many have told me this week, I grew up after I left the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So I'll tell you, it pained me standing outside the Mormon church on Wednesday. It pained me. That was my church. Now, of course, I left the Mormon church at a very early age, but I have very clear memories of my upbringing in the Mormon church. And it pained me to see what was going on. It pains me to see our brothers and sisters standing outside the Roman Catholic Cathedral this morning. And it pains me to see our brothers and sisters picketing outside First AME this morning. It pains me.